Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, April 17th, 2025. So we start off with Alex and Philip. Again, Alex is upset about the whole thing about keeping the secret from Xander, and he's really furious with everybody involved, Sarah and Philip, right? So Philip is there thanking him and trying to justify, you know, the ends to a means, right? Like they're getting along, Titan is thriving, and they took over the mirror. Victor would be proud. And, Alex would say, yeah, that is all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, it's all based on a lie. And if and when this secret comes out, it's gonna just go crumbling down and he's gonna lose everything, right? He doesn't feel good keeping the secret from Xander, but he has to do it because he's looking out for the family, and he doesn't want the structure to fall down and then it be a whole big mess, a whole big risk, right? It's a lot more damage that can happen, so that's why he's keeping quiet. But he said, you know at some point on the line he might just do it, and whether or not he will be the first to do it or Philip will be the first to do it, I mean, he's gonna suffer real bad, right? So I mean, at this point, Alex is just gonna keep quiet, and he doesn't like it, but what is he gonna do, right? So Sarah was there, still trying to justify her actions, looking at Victor's portrait like, Victor has done things like this before, keeping secrets from family, so he's not like, trying to make herself feel a lot better for doing the shady thing that she's done, right? Which I can't stand, right? So Maggie comes in, and Maggie can see that something's wrong with her, that she's carrying the world on her shoulders. She hasn't been the same for weeks, right? So she's asking her to tell her what's going on. She can confide in her. So she said, yeah, no, I can. And, it's just that I've been keeping the secret for Xander for weeks. The letter that, Philip produced and said that it was written from Victor was forged with the help of Vivian. So she said, oh, so that's why Vivian has been here and Philip, brought her here and all that, right? Because she did tell Sarah that Vivian was actually here, and she got kicked out and all that, and she was wondering why Philip had, why Vivian has this hold on him, apart from the fact that she carried him in his womb all these years and all that, well, all these months and all that, right? So Sarah tried to blurt it out at first, and she tried to retract it, and then she ended up telling her mom the whole thing. And of course she was surprised at the fact, but eventually she understand why Sarah kept it from Xander. She didn't want Xander to self-destruct, and she didn't want, it to be where he is taken away from her and Victoria and their family. But I'm saying at the end of the day, she's the one that married Xander. She knew who he was inside out, and he's a grown man. At the end of the day, you can't keep, protecting him like this or babysitting him like this. If you have to be doing that in your marriage, then at the end of the day, like, you guys should not be together from the get-go, right? It's been that way over and over. Like, yeah, y'all should know at least, okay, you should you should have more faith in him, that he has reformed and everything. But anyways, Maggie said that she was doing the right thing, and it would cause more damage than good. It would relieve her conscience if she told Xander now, but it would do more damage to the family, right? So, anyways, she's not the only one that's struggling with her conscience. Stephanie also is, and she visited her mom to really just say, you know what, I have a lot going on. I'm keeping this secret to protect some people, and I roped in somebody else to keep the secret. So she's like, by somebody you mean Alex? And she said, yeah. So Kayla said, I can tell that you're going through a lot, and just know that I'm here for you and all that. And it wasn't really a long scene between the two of them, because at some point she did get a call from Steve, and Steve was telling her that he was going to come home soon, right? So we'll get into that at some point in the episode recap. So again, I'm not really interested when Marlena and Steve really meet up and talk about getting John back. I'm just really disinterested, but again, I will recap on it still. So Anyways, they're still trying to decode this Rosebud thing, trying to see where John really is, yada yada yada. And they get some information about Orpheus possibly knowing where he could be, so they pretend to be his medical team, psychiatrists and doctors. So they make their way into Orpheus's room. So they're demanding him to tell them, what is Rosebud or where is Rosebud, as he clarified. And he tells him, that he doesn't have the coordinates no more, but he pointed him to a location where they can find out more information. And he asks us something in return. So he asks Marlena if she could, put in a good word for his son, Christian. If you guys remember from years ago when Orpheus' son came on the block and he has this son and he lost custody because of his bad ways and everything. So yeah, he was saying if Marlena could put in a word, write a letter for him, so she said she could do that, right? So, anyways, they leave, and at some point, Steve talked to Andrew, and Andrew saying that at this point, ISA have to take over, and they need to go home because it's gonna get really risky. So Steve tells Marlena that Marlena is like, we're this close. Whenever we really followed ISA's order, and I really, it's just gonna suck for us to go home and not have John here. So Steve understand, and he wanted to be the one to bring him home, but he said, "Listen, we gotta follow the orders, and we gotta do what's best for us and safe for us, right?" So that's when he called Kayla and told Kayla that he's coming home, and that even though he doesn't have John, it's the right thing to do for them and their family and all that. So she is selfishly happy for him to come home, and she knows that they'll be there for Marlena in any instance, right? So anyways, they come. Marlena gets a note from Orpheus, and she was told to return there alone. And he said he doesn't trust Steve, but he trusts her to tell her where John is on one condition: to let him out. And she's like, you really think I'm gonna do that? So anyway, Steve comes in, and it looks like it was a whole plan in the beginning for them to really, like, come separately. And turns out I say decoded stuff, and they're able to find out where John is. Again, very disinterested this scene, but yeah. So Stephanie and Alex meet up, and they're both saying different things. Stephanie saying to just relieve her conscience and tell Xander the truth. Alex is saying the opposite, saying that he want to keep it. So she's like, are you sure? But I says like, yeah, it's just to protect Xander. Really don't want us to blow over, as much as I don't like the secret and all that. So he said, I just want to avoid Xander right now. Just stay at the office and just go grab lunch. You want to come with me? So she said she already had lunch with her mom, but she will keep him company. Have I guess a iced tea or whatever. So they go about their business. So Dr. Vivian and Xander. So Xander's not here for Vivian's games or anything like that. So he's waiting for security to just throw out. But she said, you don't want to throw me out until I tell you what you need to know about your brother, right? So he's like, what about him? So she said, he's like, wait, do you have something over him? Like, do you want something from him? Because I'm wondering, like, why did he have you over the house? So she said, okay, let me elaborate on that, right? Like, I have leverage over him, right? So he's like, oh, you blackmail. So she said, no, I rather the term leverage, right? So she tells him point blank, like, okay, I was the one who wrote the letter. So it wasn't, this whole thing was a cover up between Alex and, Stephanie and Philip sleeping around. It wasn't really happening, right? So she told him that, you wondering, like, how come Philip just came here and just had part ownership of the company? So it's like, I got over that. We're good. We're working as a team. We're brothers and all that. We have done well personally, professionally. I can't complain. So she's like, it's all a lie. Like, I was the one who forged the letter. So it's like, come on, no, like, anybody can forge a letter. I used to forge my mom's letters when she was drunk all the time. So she said, like, she showed him the signature and he didn't believe it. So she I guess she verbalized everything that she wrote on that letter, and word for word she was paraphrasing as he thought. And he's like, wow, she could really be right. So she's like, you know what, he's like, let me call the cops. So she's like, really? I don't think you need to call the cops on me. You need to think about your brother. He's the one that actually duped you straight out, right? I might have forged a letter, but he did you the worst. So she leaves on that note. So yeah, Xander is on 1,000 right now. So Philip is in the square and he runs into Vivian and he's like, Vivian, have you packed the things and get out of the house? So she's like, actually, I went over to the Demir office. So she's like, why you went over there? So she said, I came over there to admire, your furniture and all of that. But honestly, I went over to talk to your brother and you're in a lot of trouble. So yep, Philip's world is gonna crash down soon. So Xander's expected, comes in there, he's on 1,000. Before that, Sarah was talking to the portrait of Victor again, and she was on it like, I couldn't get, concrete advice from my mom. Might as well try you, but then you have poor judgment and all of that. You're the last person to come to for advice and blah blah. And I'm like, Sarah, if you don't get over yourself, because at this point, you're not looking really good yourself either. So Xander comes in and she's like, Xander, what's going on? So Xander's there downing back drinks and he's saying like, I think I've been betrayed. So yeah, I can't wait for this thing to go down. I hope he can put two and two together and notice that Sarah has been keeping something from him. So I'm ready for the blowback from this, right? So let's see what happens tomorrow. I'm really excited for it. Today was a great episode. Apart from that Marlena and Steve part, never care for it. But anyways, comment below your thoughts on today's episode. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.